Hello and welcome back. Now this should be a nice wee short video. I want to talk to you about something that you may not be aware of. I call it the Great Escape. Now basically, for those that have been on their spiritual journey a wee while, you'll have the understanding that you're this you have this soul, and it's currently occupying this physical body. We come down and we're limited by the boundaries of this body, and we have to experience things, because when you're not in body on the earth, you really can't feel things in a physical way. You can't experience the things. Even pain to a soul is actually a life experience, and they you might be going, oh, I've got aches and pains and whatnot, but your soul sort of values that. Your soul's thinking, well, that's something I've experienced now that I can't experience in any other part of the universe. So even pain is a blessing. Emotional pain and all the horrible challenges that we go through, we regard them as being bad luck or awfulness. But our oversoul, loves it. Before we are born, we arrange to go through these things. We make a life plan to experience a whole gamut of different things, the highs and the lows, and the soul values both equally. Now, sometimes, the soul, sometimes it doesn't choose to just stay in the body, or we can bite off more than we can chew. We can take on things that, are very, very, very challenging and painful to us, not just in a physical sense, but in an emotional sense, possibly even more so in an emotional sense. And when that happens, sometimes the soul can just sort of, it's been affected by some kind of trauma, and it will sort of step out the body. It's like when I was saying before death, in another video, that the soul can hover outside the body if the body's going through a lot of pain in the run up to them passing over. The soul doesn't choose to sit in that body and fully experience that pain. It's just the physical body that's feeling it, but the soul can step out and just dip in and out, and that happens not just when you're dying. It can happen. I do it consciously if I go to the dentist, or when I was in labour, or sometimes when I'm just at the hairdressers, and they'll always offer you a magazine, and I just say, no, it's okay, I'll just go somewhere in my head, and I come out the body a little bit. I sort of leave a maintenance level of consciousness here, and I go off, long car journeys, and say you were laid up with flu, or you had some kind of injury, and you were debilitated by it, and you were forced to sort of be stuck in. Well, your physical body is stuck in, but your soul and it's not really your mind, it's your consciousness, isn't stuck in at all. It can take off, and I frequently do that. I just take my focus, shift my focus off, and go somewhere else, and make use of that time that I've got available. Now, I think some people, they can have very horrible childhoods, or they can maybe have something painful happen to them in childhood, and really they're not in body as much as they should be for their life path. Is something awful's happened to them, or something very dramatic, or something very painful, and the soul part steps out a little bit, like when we're getting close to death, and the body's working away with just this overview going on from a distance, and it makes it very difficult for that soul to impact the earth the way they intended. So, most people on the earth at the minute are down as light workers. They're down as bringing the light with this aim to ground it. They're down processing ancestral issues, and they need to have an impact on all these different things, and they're down to experience life, what it's like to be in a physical body, and all the joys and challenges that brings. So if you're not fully engaged, you're really missing out. I've spoken many times of Paula, and you can find her information in the videos about a medium's journey. And Paula once told me that she'd been asked to intervene with an autistic child. The mother, was at her wit's end. This child was very withdrawn from, life. Was very out of it. The body was there, but the child wasn't interacting with the world. I have 2 autistic children myself, so this is keenly interesting to me. And she had the ability to go and talk with the oversoul of the people that came to see her. She could dialogue with the oversoul, and she told me that she sort of went to dialogue with the oversoul of this child and see if anything could be done for them. And she saw the oversoul completely overwhelmed by life, and it was sort of sitting in a corner, head in hands, and it wanted out. Life was too hard. It was too much for it. The challenges it had chosen just completely overwhelmed it, and it was refusing to do its bit. It wasn't willing to be in that body, going through those experiences that it had volunteered for. And so I don't think that she was able to resolve that situation, but she was just recounting what she'd found when she was looking into the mind of this autistic child, and the oversoul had just opted not to complete that life in the same way. Now, I believe that spiritually sometimes a different soul can come in and exchange. The body's here. That individual is waiting to pursue some sort of life plan, and sometimes if a soul's just overwhelmed by it all, then they can leave and a different soul can step in, and it can sort of plunge into that physical body, and they can seem like very different people. That goes on. It can sometimes be agreed. There was I think in the Doris Stokes books, The Convoluted Universe, there was a number of stories where one soul had been in to experience a really traumatic, brutal younger years for this little girl, and then it got to a certain point and it was like a tag team. Another soul had stepped in to go forward with that life, so that the child could they've had those shared experiences, but then the second soul took over, and they went on to a different phase of the life. They came out of the abusive situation, and but they carried all the knowledge of the previous soul's experiences. So it's quite complicated, but basically you sometimes have to be aware if you've been through some kind of extreme pain, physically. Can be an accident or an illness that required surgery, or just a lot of trauma about you in your life. You might not be fully back in your body. There might be an aspect of you that is not engaging, and it can make life seem very, very faded, very grey, very like you can't impact things. You feel very stuck and disconnected with the world. I believe I know some people who are like this, and they are not fully in their body. They're out of their physical body, and it's why they're just not seeming to be living their lives. They are observing their lives, but they're not impacting or making changes in their lives. And it's a waste, really, because, you know, I'm sure when they do ultimately pass over, they would be kicking themselves. They've had all these opportunities to experience the many shades of colour, you know, in this world, and all the wonderful things, and they're instead, you know, 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and not able to be one thing or the other. So if you felt in any way, and I think I've done this, I've done it at a conscious level, you know, if I was ill or whatever, I'd just say, right, I'm not enjoying, you know, this strep throat or whatever, I'm just going to go off and go to the beach or something and take myself off and have fun and play in the spiritual realms. And you're doing that consciously, sort of leaving, there's a silver cord connects you to your physical body, and you're fully aware of what's going on, because you're magnificent and you can do many things at the same time. And then come back when you feel you want to. When you do that, you have to ground yourself. You have to consciously get yourself back in your body fully. And if you feel that you're half in, half out due to circumstances in your life, then it's all fine. You can remedy it, and you can really dig into this body and start impacting your life in a more profound way, and don't feel like you're such a passenger, you know, in what's taking place to you, that you are not powerless in these situations. You have the ability to really shift stuff that's going on, but you need to be in your body to impact this earth plane and this earthly life. The way you do it is all any kind of grounding things. Breath is a very simple way to ground yourself. Breathing, pulling in all the energy, picturing roots growing out of your feet, drawing energy up from the earth, drawing energy in from the trees, eating root vegetables and any vegetables really, I think, are very grounding. Some people eat, they go and eat red meats and things. They are very grounding. They might not be ethically, where you're coming from, but to be fair, I went through a phase where I was having a lot of issues with my blood. I was extremely anemic, and I think I almost died. And to remedy that, I went heavily into red meat and a lot of very grounding foods, because I felt I needed to rebuild the cells here, in a very earthy way. But I rarely ever eat red meat, really. You can do things that work with the earth, any kind of gardening, sticking your hands into the earth, weeding things, being outside. Anything of nature is going to be grounding, anything of the physical, any kind of movements of your body. If you do even dancing, exercise, walking, very simple things. It's not rocket science here. You can also have certain earthy crystals. It can be the less precious crystals. The more, they come in the more raw form. They tend to be darker. They can be earthy colours, like browns, reds and things like that. They can be very grounding. Essential oils, if you go for tree oils, I absolutely adore cedarwood. I adore the scent of it. It used to be amazing. Whenever anyone in the family has sleep problems, I get the cedarwood oil out and I put it on the wrists, the back of the neck and the feet, and the outlet that is a fantastic oil. Also vetiver, which I think is another tree oil, but any kind of oils like that, again, they're very natural. They can ground you right down, and it will help you get right back in your body. You can go intuitively with this. If you feel like you are sometimes missing in action, like your soul is not always fully engaged, that you've been through a lot of trauma or illness or pain, and that you are stuck in any way in your life. It could be because, you know, your oversoul part isn't engaging fully into this body because it's been a very painful and challenging experience. And if you want to get proper back in your body, then, you know, intuitively have a think and see what's going to work for you. But you know, even just having the intention to come back into your body will have an impact. I think the breathing, the visualization, plugging into the earth, the physically walking about barefoot is huge. If you go in the grass or the sand, then, you know, these type of things, it just connects you with the earth. If you can just, you know, keep picturing that, you know, back, get in the body, and then you will notice that your life can start to move forward again, that you're more able to impact situations that have been a problem for you, and that you feel less spacey and disconnected. You might also feel your emotions in a more acute way, and that's a sign that you're back in your body. You know, it can feel a bit overwhelming, it can feel very painful, it can, you know, you can feel very dissatisfied. It probably could be a bit depressing because, you know, if you've been half in, half out and nobody's been minding the shop, you know, there might be a bit of business to sort out to get your life whipped back into shape. But I want to make you aware of this ability that we have where we can step out of our body. In the future, I am going to try and dialogue with my children's oversoul and see if there's anything I can do to help those situations, because I would love to have them more fully here. Obviously, you want the best for your children, and autism can take them off. You know, I do plan to try and work with that. Any special needs mother will, you know, their life revolves around what can they do to improve the life quality of their children, and to, you know, empower them to have more normal lives. And I'm definitely, it's an area, I don't think it's an accident that I have 2 autistic children, and I have been gathering up a lot of knowledge over the years, and, you know, if I find any answers that really impact them, I will share them. At the moment, though, I feel I've sort of been caught up more in my own challenges, and I'm still finding my feet spiritually with what I can and cannot do. I'm not at the level that my friend and mentor was at. I can't do half the things she can do, but I believe one day, you know, I'll be able to do a lot more, and answers will come, and when they do, I'll share them with you. Okay, so try and pay attention and see if you think you've been dipping in and out your body, going off on the Great Escape, or and if you have, or if you're not sure, try these grounding things, and at least then you'll know that you're in your body right now, and, you know, you can go forward with that, and you might notice situations can be cleared up, and you're more empowered to resolve things and make choices and changes, and, you know, be more dynamic down here. It could be a very positive thing. So I'd love to hear, you know, if you've got any of these kind of experiences, or anything to add to this dialogue, comment away, and I hope that's helped you. That's my desire, and I'll leave you with that. Okay, right, you take care of yourself. God bless.